Dharma brothers and sisters, shall we all rise and give a warm welcome to Venerable YouLu. Let us now join our palms together and bow to Venerable. Venerable, please be seated. So the topic for tonight's talk is a continuation from last night. It's the Sumati Sutra, 10 Paths to Happiness. Let us now give our attention to Venerable, please.
Good evening, everyone. So today I'll be continuing from yesterday. So yesterday we were talking about the introduction, right? We went through the introduction of the sutra. So do you still remember what is the name? What's the name of the sutra that this sutra is collected in? The Great Treasure Collection Sutra. Right. Yeah, let's go through very quickly. Okay, so this is part of the larger sutra called the Great Treasures Collection Sutra, right? Or in Chinese, 大宝积经. And then, and who is the translator? Ruchi. Okay, it's on the slide. And who brought the scripture from India to China? Right. Okay, 玄奘, Master 玄奘. And which? Let me think. Okay. So, at what age did Ruchi arrive in China? Okay, at what age did Ruchi start to learn about Buddhism? 60, when he was 60 years old, right? And then at what age did he arrive in China? 120. Okay, and then he started to do translations after he arrived in China. And so that was I believe he must have started doing the translation a few years after he is 120 years old, because he's from India, so he must have spent some time learning Chinese before he can do the translation, right? But then when it comes to translation, there are also several ways in which how one does translation. Because, for example, one of the translators, Master Dao, he does not know any Sanskrit, but he was able to do the translation. So somebody actually explained the text to him, and probably orally, and then he came out with the translation. And so probably in Ruchi's case of doing translation, probably somebody also explained the text, or he might have explained the text to somebody who is proficient in Chinese. And then they were able to do the translation together. But that's my guess. Okay. Right. Okay. And then we also went through the introduction of the sutra. Right. And Sumati, how old is Sumati? She's 8 years old. And then how many questions did she ask? 10 questions. Okay. And yesterday we went through the first 5 questions. Right? Do you still remember the first question? Yeah, how do you get a proper abdomen form? Okay. And then, do you remember the Buddha's answers? Okay, so to prevent from getting angry when you meet, unwholesome friends. Okay, what else? Okay, so, well, in general, is on to develop loving kindness and joy. Okay, in order to get a proper appearance. Okay, and then question 2 is on how do you obtain wealth and nobility. Okay? And then in general, it's to practice giving with the right kind of attitude. Okay? And then the third question is, how do you keep families from destruction? Right. And then the Buddhas gave 4 different methods. And in general, it's to protect the true Dharma. Okay, the true teachings. And to ensure the continuation of the true teachings. And then question 4 is, how do you get born? How do you get born by transformation in the presence of the Buddha? Okay, so also the Buddha gave 4 different methods, and in general is to have deep faith in great enlightenment, and to make offerings, and also to make a connection with the Buddha. Okay, through these practices. And then we come to question 5, how do you travel from Buddha land to Buddha land? Right? And so that is to encourage wholesome or virtuous actions. Okay? So that is the 5 questions that we went through yesterday. So today we'll continue with question 6. Okay, question 6. Question 6 is, how do you live blamelessly? Okay, so again, this question is quite interesting. How do you live blamelessly? I think most of us do not want to live blamelessly, right? We do not want to have a bad reputation, right? We do not want people to, we do not want to be criticized. Okay, we might not want to be famous, we might not want to have a good reputation, but definitely we do not want to be criticized, and we do not want to be blacklisted. Okay, so how do you live blamelessly? So the Buddha said, Sumati Bodhisattvas use 4 methods to live blamelessly. What 4? First, make good Dharma friends without flattery. Second, to not be jealous of others' accomplishment. Third, when others achieve fame, be happy for them. And then 4th, when cultivating Bodhisattva practices, do not slight or slander others. Right. So these are the 4 ways on how do you live blamelessly. So let's look at the first one, to make good Dharma friends without flattery. A good Dharma friend would be one who is able to guide you and give you advice on your spiritual practice. Okay, that is what we call by a good Dharma friend. And how do you make a good Dharma friend without flattery? And I found this in the Pali Canon, in this particular sutra called the Sigalovada Sutta. And here it says, in 4 ways, a young householder should one who flatters be understood as a foe in the guise of a friend. First, he approved of his friend's evil deeds. Second, he disapproved his friend's good deeds. Okay? So if you have a friend, if you did something wrong, and then your friend says, that's very good. Or if you did something really good, and your friend says, you shouldn't have done that, then would you regard this as a good friend? No, right? Definitely not. Okay. And then the third one, he praises him in his presence and he speaks ill of him in his absence. Okay, so that is to come up to you and to say nice things about you, but behind your back he's criticizing you. Okay, so that is if you have a friend like that, the Buddha says you should regard this as your enemy. Okay, so in the same way, if you want to live blamelessly, then you should not carry out the same kind of action. So you do not make good friends, good Dharma friends, especially people who is able to give you advice, good spiritual advice. You should not speak good about him in his presence, in front of him, and then you should not criticize him behind his back. Okay? And then the second one is do not be jealous of others' accomplishments. The third one is when others achieve fame, be happy for them. So 2 and 3 are sort of related. Okay, so that means when others are successful and others have made some kind of accomplishments, we should not get jealous, and instead we should be happy for them. And so that is the practice of rejoicing. We should rejoice on what others have, accomplished or have succeed in doing. And then the fourth one is, while cultivating bodhisattva practices, do not slight or slander others. Okay, so if you slight and if you slander other people, then that itself already gives people a very bad impression of you. Okay, so that is very practical advice from the Buddha, right? So I think in general the practice in this path is to rejoice in the accomplishments of others and also to refrain from criticizing others. Okay? And if we look at the kinds of relationship that we have with people that we deal with every day, in general we have 3 kinds of attitude. So the first one is that we tend to have envy towards people who are more superior than us. Okay? And then for people who are sort of equal to us, we tend to be competitive. And then towards people who are lower than us, we tend to look down on them. That's the 3 kinds of attitude that we tend to have with people that we deal with every day. Right? For example, if you meet, for example, your superior in your company, then if he's more capable and he has a better salary than you, he has a much higher position than you tend to develop feelings of envy, right? And towards your colleagues, people who is in the same kind of position with you, then you tend to want to be competitive. And then towards people, who are in low position than you tend to sort of look down on them. So that is, in general, the 3 kinds of attitudes that we have. And that is also something that we have to overcome. And that is why we have the dedication verse, the Foguang dedication verse, 慈悲喜舍遍法界, right? May loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity pervade the universe. So, in this dedication verse, it's talking about the 4 immeasurables, right? Immeasurable loving kindness, immeasurable compassion, immeasurable joy. And what does it mean by immeasurable joy? It's not only just developing joy in your practice, but also to rejoice in other people's accomplishment, and to rejoice when people have, success, or they have made some kind of success. You rejoice for them. You develop that kind of wholeheartedly rejoicing for them. And I think this is sometimes neglected in Buddhist practice, and especially in Chinese society. I think in traditional, Chinese society, people tend to be competitive, and so that is sometimes overlooked in Buddhist practice. But in order to fully develop your potential, it is important to do the practice of rejoice. And also the last one is equanimity. Equanimity means you have you develop the same kind of attitude towards everybody that you meet. So if that is to help you to overcome the 3 kinds of attitudes: the attitude of envy, competitiveness, and to despise people. Okay, so you can sort of try to observe how thoughts arise in your mind when you are dealing with different people. When you are talking to your parents, or when you're talking to your colleagues, when you meet somebody selling food on the street, what kind of attitude do you have when you are interacting with different people? Do you treat everybody equally? Do you, practice equanimity when you are interacting with different people? So that is something that you can observe, right? Okay, and then the next question is how to ensure that people trust their every word. That means how do you be trustworthy? So the Buddha says Bodhisattvas use 4 methods to ensure that people trust their every word. What for? First, always be consistent in your words and practice. So I think this is just commonsensical. If you say something and if you do something else, then nobody's going to trust you, right? Second, do not hide your wrongdoing from good Dharma friends. And like I said, good Dharma friends are good spiritual friends. And if you're not truthful to your spiritual friends, then they are not able to give you the right kind of advice for you. Okay? And then the third one, do not seek fault in the Dharma one hears. So that means you do not give rise to a fault-finding mind when you are listening to the Dharma. Okay, because if you have a fault-finding mind when you are listening to the Dharma, then it's like, in the Buddhist text they say there are 3 kinds of listening. One is to listen, and they use 3 kinds of bowls to describe the 3 ways of how you listen to Dharma. So one is with a bowl that is upright. That means whatever you hear is like water that's contained in this bowl. And it gets full. You can get full to the rim. And that's the proper form of listening to the Dharma. Another form of listening to the Dharma is to listen with like a bowl that's inverted. That means you are not able to accept whatever is spoken. You are not able to accept and whatever teaching is given to you. That's like a bowl that's inverted. Okay, so nothing gets into the bowl. And then the third kind of listening is like a bowl, but it's contaminated. So it's like a fault-finding mind. So whatever water is poured inside, it gets dirty because the bowl itself is dirty. Okay? So we should try to avoid, the wrong ways of listening to the Dharma. And so you should have the right attitude, to be accepting of, but I'm not saying that you should not be analytical. Okay, I'm not saying you should just accept. I think it's also important that you should be skeptical, and you should also be. You should also analyze what the teacher says, because that's what the Buddha says himself, that you should not accept my words simply because I say it, but you should test it, you should examine it, and see if it is true. But here what I mean is, you should not hear with any kind of preconceived ideas, and to listen with a narrow-minded, mindset. Okay. And then the last one is, do not give rise to unwholesome thoughts towards those who speak the Dharma. Okay, so that is not to be disrespectful to your Dharma teachers. Okay, so these are the four ways of being trustworthy. So in general, how do you become trustworthy? You should be consistent and truthful. Okay. So at that time, the Buddha spoke a verse: be consistent in your words and practice. Do not hide your wrongdoing from good Dharma friends. Do not seek faults in the Dharma one hears. Then all your words will be believed and trusted. Okay, so that's for question 7. And then next one, question 8. how to eliminate Dharma obstructions and be pure. Okay, so in the text, Sumati Bodhisattvas have 4 methods to eliminate Dharma obstructions and be pure. What for? First, embrace the 3 categories of Bodhisattva precepts. Second, after hearing the profound sutras, do not slander them. Third, see those who make their initial intention, then give rise to the mind of all wisdom. Fourth, treat all sentient beings with great loving kindness and equanimity. Okay, so these are the 4 methods. Okay, so the first one, to embrace the 3 categories of Bodhisattva precepts. So what does it mean by the 3 categories of Bodhisattva precepts? So they refer to the precepts of proper conduct. So precepts of proper conduct is precepts that help you to refrain from wrongdoings. So for example, the precept of no killing, the precept of no stealing, no sexual misconduct, no lying. This belongs to the category of the precepts of proper conduct. Okay? And then the second one, we have the precepts of wholesome deeds. That is the precepts that you do to actively carry out positive actions. So, for example, instead of just upholding the precept of no killing, then you move ahead and try to protect lives. So, that is in the category of precepts of wholesome deeds. Okay? Instead of no lying, you go ahead and try to say things that are truthful and beneficial for other people. Okay, so that is in the second category. And then in the third category, we have the precepts of benefiting sentient beings. These are the precepts. This belongs to the category of the Bodhisattva precepts. And these are the precepts that one uphold to attain enlightenment as their ultimate goal in order to benefit all sentient beings. So one of the major Bodhisattva precept is not to praise oneself and to undermine other people and criticize other people. So it's the same like what we went through earlier, no slandering others and praising oneself. Okay, so that's the Bodhisattva precept. Okay, so the first one is to embrace all the 3 categories of the precepts. And then the second one is after hearing the profound sutras, do not slander them. So that's sort of relevant to the first one actually. So if you want to eliminate obstacles, then first of all, you do not do things that are harmful. So the precepts basically are actions that you carry out to prevent yourself from harming other people and intruding other people. And so if you are able to do that, then certainly your obstacles will be eliminated. Right? And then the third one, see those who make their initial intention, then give rise to the mind of all wisdom. So here what it means is see those people who have made the aspiration to work towards enlightenment. Okay? And to see that person as a future Buddha, as somebody who's going to attain enlightenment in the future. And the fourth one is treat all sentient beings with great loving kindness and equanimity. And the fourth one is if you are able to treat everybody with great loving kindness and with great equanimity, then I believe you're not going to harm anybody. Okay? So in general, it's the 4 of them is to try to refrain from incorrect actions. Okay? And through discipline, through the practice of discipline, and without being judgmental, and to see everybody as equal. Okay. Okay, and then question number 9 is how do you avoid Mara? So in question number 8, we have how do you eliminate obstacles, right? And then in question number 9, we have how do you avoid Mara? So it's sort of similar, but question 8 and question 9. it's sort of the same because in question 8 is about how you eliminate obstacles. And then in question 9, how do you avoid Mara? Mara is sort of the same in the sense of how do you get rid of hindrances, right? But I think the difference between question 8 and question 9 is question 8 probably refer to external obstacles, okay, external hindrances. Whereas question 9 sort of relate to your internal obstacles, okay, obstacles that comes from your mind, okay. So again, the Buddha gave 4 different methods. Bodhisattvas have 4 methods of avoiding Mara. What for? First, completely understand that Dharma nature is equal. So, completely understand that Dharma nature is equal. I think here what it means is not to give rise to discrimination. Okay? Because when you give rise to discrimination, then you are not able to see, the nature of non-duality, and that itself is a hindrance to your practice. The second one is to give rise to diligence, so that is to overcome laziness, and that is something that we need to work on. Laziness is one of the 5 hindrances. And then the third one is to constantly contemplate the Buddha. Okay? And then the fourth one is to dedicate the merit from all personal roots. Right. Okay. So the first one, to completely understand that Dharma nature is equal. There is an example that's given by Dharma Master in page 114. So if you want to refer to the example, you can turn to the page in the book. Okay, and then the second one is to give rise to diligence. And in the sutras, it is said that there are 3 kinds of laziness in general. The first kind of laziness is laziness. It's like, when it comes to the Dharma service at the temple, you prefer to sleep, for example. That's laziness. Okay, when it's time to get up for your morning chanting, you prefer to lie in bed. That's laziness. Okay, so that's the first kind of laziness. The second kind of laziness is to get yourself very busy with worldly activities. Alright, so that's finding an excuse for not committing yourself to your spiritual practice. So when it's time, when you have set time, maybe to do your meditation, then you give yourself the excuse that, I have to make this call, I have, or else, I might not be able to get this business deal or something. So you come up with excuses and not do the practice that you have initially planned for. So that's the second kind of laziness. And then the third kind of laziness is not to have enough confidence. Not confident that you are able to complete your spiritual practice. You're not confident that you are able to attain Buddhahood. Thinking that you are incapable. And then so you give yourself the excuse, I can never do it. So I'm not going to do it. Okay, so that's the third kind of laziness. Alright? So, in general, if you give yourself excuses for not doing, practices where you should be, then it's a kind of laziness. Okay? And then the third one is to contemplate on the Buddha. I will touch on that later. And then the fourth one is to dedicate the merit from all wholesome roots. And so one of the ways that you can do in dedicating the merits is you can transfer your merits to your enemies, to people who have been problematic for you. Okay? And that's a way you can resolve your relationship with that person. Alright? So in general, the method that you can use here is to contemplate on the Buddha. Okay? Right. And I found information, I found this information from the internet. And this is the map of consciousness that is proposed by Dr. David Hawkins. And in this map of consciousness, he came up with the different levels of energetic frequencies. So, for example, in this chart over here, I'm sorry the words might be a little too small for you. So, in the purple section, for example, so you have enlightenment, and he has calibrated energetic frequency of 700 to 1000. So 1000 is the highest in his calibration. Okay? And then peace is calibrated to have a frequency of 600. And then the affected emotion is bliss. And then joy is 540. And the associated emotion is serenity. And then we have love at 500, reason at 400. And then next we have the green section. We have acceptance, 350, willingness at 310, and then neutrality at 250. And then we come to the yellow section. We have courage at 200, pride at 175, anger at 150. So you can see that actually as the emotion gets more and more negative, the energetic frequency gets lower and lower. Okay? And then in the orange section we have desire is 125, fear is 100, and then grief is 75. Okay? And associated with the emotion of regret. And then we have the red section, apathy at 50, guilt at 30, and shame at 20. Okay? So, you can sort of relate this to the 6 realms. The 6 realms of existence. So, in the highest realm, in the purple section, that's where the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas are. Right? They have very, very high energetic frequencies. Okay? And then in the heavenly realm, that is the blue section. Okay, there is joy, there's love. Okay, in this blue section. And then the human realm is probably the green section. Right, where we have acceptance, we have willingness, and there is, half suffering, half joy, sort of neutral realm. And then in this yellow section we have courage, pride, anger. That is sort of related to the asuras. Okay, where they are dominated by pride and jealousy. And then in this realm, this yellow section, you have desire, fear, and grief. That is the animal and the hungry ghost. Because they're always in constant fear. And they're always desiring for something. Okay? The hungry ghosts are always looking for food. And the animals they're always fearful, they're always scared of getting prey, getting eaten, getting killed. And then in the lowest realm, I think that's where the hell realm is. Okay, where you have, apathy, you have the sense of guilt and shame in the lower realm. Okay, and so the reason why we contemplate on the Buddha is so that we can get in tune with the frequency of the Buddha. Okay? And when we get, when we contemplate, we're actually recalling the qualities that the Buddha had. And we try to get our minds tuned to the same frequency as those who are enlightened. Okay? Right. Actually, I have another chart that I'd like to show you. It's a chart on the different teachings and the teachers, and it's not only Buddhist, but it's a collection of also other religions. Yeah, let me just close this. Google David Hawkins and then levels of consciousness. He actually mapped out all the different books and teachers and places, and he came up with a list of energetic frequencies that's related. For example, the energy level of Christmas is 535. Okay, and then you have the energetic level of the Old Testament. The energetic level of Lao Tzu and his teachings, 610. The energetic level of Om Mani Padme Hum is 700. And then the energetic level of the Heart Sutra and the Lotus Sutra is 780. And then Bodhidharma and the Zen teachings, 795. Hinayana Buddhism and Zen Buddhism, 890. And then the Mahayana Buddhism is 960. So it's pretty high scoring. And then Buddhahood is marked at 1000, together with Brahman, Christ, Krishna. Yeah, so this is a pretty interesting list. So you can look through, and there are also the texts from the different religions, from Christianity, and also the Quran. The Quran is marked at 700. Heart Sutra is higher, 780. Okay. Yeah. So you can Google David Hawkins, and then I should open this. Yeah, you can Google David Hawkins, and then you can find this list of calibrated spiritual teachers and teachings, places, books, and lectures. Okay, and you can have a look at the list. It's quite interesting how he correlated these different teachings with the energetic levels. Okay. And then another I think this is something that I think most of you would have known. It's a project by the Japanese professor, and he has done an experiment on water. So this is how it looks like, the bottled water, and in its natural state. And he had 500 people sending positive thoughts to the water, and this is how it looks like after the prayer. Okay, so you should not undermine, the effect of a prayer, because it has a positive effect on the water crystal. Okay, and another one is this one. This is how it looks like, before. Oh, you can see my mouse as I'm moving. So this is the water initially, and then this is after prayer. So this is how it looks like. Okay, so it's the same thing when you contemplate on the Buddha. It's like sending a prayer to yourself, right? Okay, so the body is actually made up of 70% of water. So if you send a prayer to yourself through contemplating the Buddha, then I believe it has the same effect as the experiment that this Japanese professor has done. Okay, so that is why we do contemplation also. Okay, and then over here the professor also has done experiments with words. So for example, the word angel, this is how the water turns out to be with the word angel. This is the word peace. This is the word spirit. And then if you have, negative words, like you disgust me, this is YouLu, then it turns out in a very, very bad shape. Okay? And people, there are scholars who have actually done experiments on the character for Buddha, the Chinese character for Buddha. And they found that is actually, they are able to measure energetic frequencies that's coming up from the character Buddha. Okay, so the characters, just by putting this word on water, has a positive effect on the water. Okay, right, and then this are the crystals through the experiment of music. So this is air on G string. This is the song Imagine by John Lennon. This is Amazing Grace. So music has the same effect. So it's the same like chanting, right? When you are chanting, it has the same effect on ourselves, on our body. Okay? And this is a very scientific. This is nothing to do with the hidden, something hidden or something mysterious. This is a very scientific proof of how contemplation and how music and chanting and how images have a positive impact on our minds and on our body. Okay? And these are photos of dolphins and lotus. So not only through your prayers, if you have an image, or through sounds, through words, through the text. So all this can have a positive impact on our mind and body. Okay? So that's why Brahma Master always say, do good deeds, say good words, and think good thoughts, right? Have good intentions. Because if you do that, then definitely that is able to influence your body and mind, and not just yourself, but you also influence other people at the same time, right? Because if you can send a prayer to water, I believe you can send prayers to other people. I think it has the same effect. Okay? Okay, and then we come to the last question. Question number 10. So it's on how to ensure that one will be greeted by Buddhas at the end of life. Okay? So the Buddha says, Bodhisattvas use 4 methods to ensure that they will be greeted by Buddhas at the end of life. What for? First, give gifts to satisfy the needs of others. Second, produce a deep faith in all wholesome teachings. Third, offer all Bodhisattvas their ornaments. And fourth, diligently make offerings to the Triple Gem. Okay? Right. So, to give to satisfy the needs of others. There is an example that Brahma Master talked about in page 131. Right. Okay, I'm going to read this example in the book. So, in the past, a female student studying at the Buddhist college said to Brahma Master, Dean, I want to go watch the ice game performance. If you don't let me go, I'll regret it for the rest of my life. And Brahma Master thought, this is quite troublesome, because Brahma Master is the dean of the Buddhist college. So if he allowed this student to go, then he might not be able to answer the other students. But if he does not allow this student to go to watch the performance, then this student will be devastated. So this is quite serious. And when dealing with students who follow the rules, Brahma Master thinks that the rules become unnecessary. Brahma Master says that rules are an institution designed for those who do not follow the rules. So because this student usually behaved quite well, so Brahma Master handed her 200 Taiwanese dollars and said to her, I need you to run an errand. So there is stationery I need from Kaohsiung. Whatever money is left over, you can use that for yourself. Okay, so Brahma Master gave her the excuse to go to the city of the Buddhist college, to go into the city and to watch the performance. But at the same time, it's like giving her the right proper excuse to go out. Okay, so Verbal Master is very skillful, right? In the sense of how you satisfy the needs of others. Okay, and also Verbal Master has been advocating the 4 givings, giving people convenience, giving people hope, giving people joy, and giving people confidence. Okay, so the 4 givings is also a practice that we carry out to satisfy the needs of others. Okay, so in general, these 4 points point in general to the practice of fulfilling the needs of others. Okay, right. So these are the 10 questions that are being asked in the sutra. Okay. So what does this sutra tell us? What's this sutra trying to tell us? Okay, so the first one, in this conclusion, in this book, Verbal Master actually gave 4 points as the conclusion. So the first one is that accomplishments do not exist outside cause and effect. So the 10 questions that are being asked basically point to the law of causality, right? So if you want to have a proper form, then you have to create the causes for getting a proper form. Okay? So if you want to have wealth, then you have to create the causes for doing that. Okay? And so if you think positively, then it also means that if you change the way you think, if you change the way you look at things, and if you change your attitude, and if you change your actions, then you are going to change your future. Right? So if you are able to give with the right attitude, then in the year of the pig, you will become rich. If you have, you are consistent in what you say and what you do, and then you don't slander and criticize others, then you are going to be a trustworthy person. Right? Okay? So the law of causality can be a very positive, a very positive rule for us to follow. And then for people who believe in the law of attraction, the law of attraction actually says that there are 3 steps in which you should, in the law of attraction, there are 3 steps that you can follow. The first one is to ask, like you make a request to the universe, stating what you want from the universe. And then the second one is to believe in what you request. Okay, to believe in what you ask for. And then the third one is to receive it. Okay. Right. So I think this is somewhat also applicable to these 10 things that might lead to happiness. So for example, you might ask, I want to live blamelessly. So in the law of attraction, when after you ask for it, you have to strongly believe in it for it to work. That's one of the rules. Okay, so I think believing is actually tuning your mind to the same frequency as what you are asking for. Okay, so if you want to live blamelessly, then you have to make good friends without flattery. Right? If what you ask for, if you think of it and you visualize that as the result, as you having this result already, then that is already part of believing. Okay? And if you are able to believe in that, then definitely I think you are going to make good friends without flattery. These 4 points is just something that you are going to carry out, wholeheartedly. Okay. And then the second conclusion is that ambition is not barred from the young, which means that this particular sutra, Sumati is only 8 years old, and she's very young considering the questions that she has asked. And so that also means that she is not, she's not barred from ambition. She is, although she's only 8 years old, she is capable of making such the ambition of becoming a bodhisattva and asking questions on how you should behave and practice as a bodhisattva. And I think also in this sutra, Buddha, it also shows that the Buddha has equal respect for the young. Okay, because in the assembly, there is this 8-year-old who rose up from the seat and then presented the questions. But the Buddha answered them accordingly, right? He did not look down on her. He did not think that, okay, that's just a childish question. But instead, he has, equal respect to her as to one who is an adult and might be asking the same kind of questions. So the Buddha is not looking. The Buddha has looked beyond her age. Okay? And it also shows that, this child could be a bodhisattva in disguise. And it's also reminding us that, when we look at children, because children nowadays are getting more and more clever, more and more intelligent. And I think that's because they brought it from their past lives. Right? And that's very good because it means that society is progressing and the world is progressing in general. But that also means that it's kind of like a reminder that we should not look down on children because they might have been very highly advanced practitioners in their past lives, and that we should show equal respect to every children. Okay. And then the third point is that men and women are equal in inherent nature. Okay, so we know Sumati is a female, and so she is capable of getting enlightened, and she has the same kind of inclination. She wants to become a Buddha. So inherently, both men and women have the same potential of becoming a Buddha. Okay, so in their inherent nature, they have the same. They are equal. And at the end of the text, actually Manjushri also asked this question: why have you not turned away from your female form, from your female body? Okay, so that is that is sexual discrimination, right? So that question already suggests that the female form is more inferior, right? Because Manjushri asked, why have you not turned away? Which means that the male form is more superior. He's hinting that the male form is more superior. So that is already a sexist question. And then Sumati answers, the female form cannot be attained. And what does it mean by the female form cannot be attained? I think it means that inherently there's no female form. In the sense that, the gender that we are born into is also due to causes and conditions, right? But because we have preconceived ideas of our gender, and we have it so strongly from young, or maybe from our past life, or that we have this idea that I'm a female or I'm a male, and it can also be because of our upbringing. Like when you're a girl or when you're a boy, your parents might say, you're a boy, you cannot cry, things like that. When you're a girl, you should behave like this. So we have already this kind of preconceived ideas of our identity, of our gender. Okay, but if we think about what makes it a male and what makes a person a female, is what determines the sexual identity is the X and Y chromosomes, right? But does the chromosome itself have a gender? Does the X chromosome have a gender? Does the Y chromosome have a gender? Then what makes up the gender? It's actually something relative, right? Because there is male, then there is female. So males and females are, relative by nature, and it's not something absolute. Okay, so that's something that you can ponder on. Is you look at the perspective of the chromosomes. Do they have a gender? And then I think nowadays people are talking a lot about sexual orientation, about LGBT. In Taiwan, people have the option to vote on whether you agree on LGBT marriage. I think in Singapore it's forbidden, right? But in Taiwan, I think it's quite open in the sense that they are given the option to vote for or against this particular rule. Okay, so there's a lot of discussion on LGBT. Okay, but if you look at the LGBTs, there are males who want to become a female, and there are females who want to become a male. So if you say that males are more superior, then if you say that males are more superior, then everybody should have the consensus that males are more superior and that they would want to be a male, right? Then why is it that males want to become females? It's quite strange, right? So actually there's no, there's no absolute preferred gender in the sense that there is no, you can't say that, which gender is superior than the other, if you look at from that perspective. Okay, and of course, the reason why Rebel Master talks about this sutra is because he wants to show that both men and women have the same capability at attaining enlightenment, and he wants to eradicate the social perception that males are more superior. Okay. Right, and then the last one is on vows. Inconceivably powerful. Right, so after the 10 questions, there is, the last part of the sutra. It says here, at that time, the young girl Sumati, having heard the Buddha's words, said to him, "O honored one, of all the Bodhisattva practices the Buddha has spoken of, I vow to uphold and practice them. O honored one, if I do not practice even one of these 40 methods, then I will have turned my back on the Buddha's teachings and lied to the Tathagata." Okay, so in this particular paragraph, Sumati is making a vow that he is going to uphold all the 40 practices. Okay, and if she does not practice even one of the 40 practices, then she would have turned her back and she would have lied to the Buddha. Okay, so she's actually making a very she's very determined in her vow, right? Okay, and then the text goes on. At that time, Venerable Moggallana said to Sumati, "The Bodhisattva path is very difficult to practice. Just now you have made an extraordinary great vow. Can you fulfill it with ease?" At that time, Sumati said, "Venerable, if my vows are true, not false, and I am able to perfectly cultivate these methods, then may this 3,004-world system quake in 6 ways. May wondrous flowers rain down from the heavens, and may heavenly drums beat of their own accord." Okay, so Moggallana is asked Sumati this question: are you able to fulfill what you just said? Okay, and then Sumati assured him by saying that if what I say, if my vows are true and not false, then the whole world is going to break in 6 ways. Okay. And then once these words were spoken out of empty space, flowers fell like rain. Heavenly drums beat on their own, and the 3,000-fold world system break in 6 ways. Okay, which means that what Sumati just said is true, and she has set the vow. She's very determined. Right. So in the text, Sumati also said that I vow to uphold and practice all the 40 different methods. And then I will become a Buddha, just as Shakyamuni Tathagata is. And in my Buddha land, there will be no Mara, no rebirth in lower realms, and no one called woman. Okay? And so, if you look at Sumati, she's only 8 years old. And she's able to make a vow like this. So what more us, right? We are, adults, and we are more mature than Sumati. Then we are even more able to make vows that's greater than what she did. Okay. So I think what she's also suggesting is to always aim for the highest goal. Okay. You can always make. You can always try to make vows, like what Sumati did. And she's given a very encouraging example, that although she's at a very tender age, she has made a vow like this. Okay? Right, and then the text go on with a dialogue between Manjushri and Sumati. Okay? And then at that time, the Dharma Prince Manjushri said to Sumati, upon what Dharma do you abide in to make such a sincere vow? And Sumati said, Manjushri, you should not ask that question. Why? There is no Dharma to abide in. Okay? So I think what it says here, when he says that there's no Dharma to abide in, is to imply that we should not cling on to the path. Okay? So all the 40 different practices, although they are numerous, and they are practices that can lead you to enlightenment, but we should not cling on to them. Okay? And then he further asked, what is Bodhi? And she said, the Dharma of non-discrimination is Bodhi. Okay? So here I think it's implied when he says the Dharma of non-discrimination is to say that there's no one method is better or worse than the other. Okay? So all of them are equally important. And then he further asked, what are bodhisattvas? And she said, those who see all phenomena as empty are bodhisattvas. Right. Okay, and I think this is a very important note, because in the introduction, the question that Sumati was asking is, how do you practice as a bodhisattva? And here Manjushri is asking the question, what is a bodhisattva? Okay, and Sumati answers that those who see all phenomena as empty. So that means the 40 practices that the Buddha has listed, if you are able to practice them and to see them as empty by nature, then you have the correct attitude of practicing these 40 different methods. Okay. And then he further asked, what are bodhisattva practices? And she said, practices which are like a mirage or an echo from a valley. These are bodhisattva practices. Okay? So when he says that this is like a mirage or an echo, so a mirage or an echo is, the nature of the mirage is that it is impermanent and that it exists. It exists through causes and conditions, and at the same time it is empty. Right? It's like a rainbow. The rainbow is there and not there at the same time? The rainbow is there because you have the, how does a rainbow form? Through reflection of light, right? But is the rainbow physically there? It's not physically there, but we sort of know that there's a rainbow there. So it's like, it's there and it's not there at the same time. So that is what Sumati tried to describe as Bodhisattva practices. It's like it's there and at the same time it's not there. Okay, so to see the Bodhisattva practices as a mirage or an echo from the valley, or like a rainbow, or like, you know, in the Diamond Sutra it's also described as like a bubble, or like the dew, right? That exists, but at the same time it is empty. Okay. And then he further asked, is there any hidden meaning to what you have said? And she said, in what I have said, I do not see the wondrous Dharma as either hidden or overt. So that means there is no hidden meaning, which means everybody have equal access to all these different methods of practice. Okay, it is not only for a particular group of people, or it's not only for the bodhisattvas. You know, those people who has been labeled as a bodhisattva, it is open to everybody who have the aspiration to practice. Okay, and then he further asked, if it is as you say, then all ordinary beings are enlightened. And she said, do you claim that enlightened beings and ordinary beings are different? Do not hold such a view. Why? Both share the same form in the Dharma realm. There can be no clinging or rejecting, as there is no formation or destruction. Okay? So here, what Sumati is saying is that both enlightened and ordinary beings share the same form. Okay? Which means that, you know, the concept of somebody who's enlightened is because there is somebody who's unenlightened. The concept of enlightenment relies on those who are unenlightened. Okay, so it's even the concept of enlightenment is a relative concept. And so that is something that we have to go beyond. And the next one is, he further asks, how many are there who can understand this doctrine? She said, however many illusory thoughts can be counted, that is how many sentient beings can understand this doctrine. Okay, so that means it is attainable by anyone. Okay, so nobody is barred from understanding this doctrine. And then the last one, Manjushri said, if illusory forms are inherently non-existent, how can the mind and mental phenomena exist? And she said they are like the Dharma realm. It is neither existent nor non-existent. And the Tathagata is also this way. Okay, so it's the same as what we have said earlier, like the example of the rainbow. That form and empty is there at the same time. It exists and it's not. It's there and it's not there at the same time. Okay. Right. And then at that time, Manjushri said to the Buddha, "Go on one. It is rare to encounter one like this girl, Sumati. She will be able to attain the patience of phenomena." Right? So, I think at the end of the 40 different methods that the Buddha said, then, you know, you have this dialogue between Manjushri and Sumati. And I think what he's trying to suggest here is that ultimately the goal of these 40 practices, or these 40 methods, is to help one to understand the meaning of emptiness at the end. Okay? So, the essence of the Bodhisattva path is actually the realization of emptiness. Okay, but at the same time, it will be difficult to appreciate this concept of emptiness if you did not have the 40 different methods mentioned in the earlier part of the sutra. Okay, and so it also helps one to overcome the idea that they have become enlightened. So it's like after you practice these teachings and then you have the concept of or the idea that you have become someone better or you have become somebody more superior, then you have that idea of becoming, of attaining. And that is something that, as in the Bodhisattva path you are trying to overcome. And if you instead, have delusive thoughts like that and, you make it grow as you get on with your practices, then it becomes a hindrance. Okay? So, in all the Bodhisattva practices, it's very important that you have the concept of emptiness as the basis of your Bodhisattva practices, because it can be very misleading in the sense that for example, you practice the precepts and you uphold the precepts so well, and you might have arrogance, you might develop arrogance over time. And you might think that, okay, I'm such a good preceptor, I'm such a good, practitioner. You may have that kind of ideas as you are doing a practice, and that can be a hindrance. So that's why, in the dialogue between Manjushri and Sumati, Sumati is sort of like refuting everything that Manjushri is saying. It's saying that there's no Dharma to the body, what are you talking about? There's no female form to attain, what are you talking about? Okay? So it's like, when I think Manjushri is also asking those questions intentionally, so that Sumati will give, sort of refute the questions that he is asking, and then people will come to understand what is the Bodhisattva practice, and that what is the essence of the Bodhisattva practice is to have not only just the practices, but also to develop the idea of emptiness ultimately. Okay? Okay, and then after the dialogue between Manjushri and Sumati, then the Buddha said, that this young girl already gave rise to the Bodhi mind over 30 kalpas before I made my own supreme Bodhi vow. Which means Sumati made the vow even much earlier than Shakyamuni Buddha. Okay? She also guided you to abide in the practice of the non-arising of phenomena. And so that means Sumati was also a teacher of Manjushri. She also guided Manjushri in the practice. And then at the time, Manjushri rose from his seat, paid homage to her, and said to Sumati, innumerable kalpas ago, I made offerings to you. How fortunate it is I can learn from you again. And Sumati answered, Manjushri, you should not make such discrimination. Why not? This is because through non-discrimination, the patience of the non-arising phenomena is gained. And then Sumati says that I will attain supreme perfect enlightenment. And after listening to my Dharma, all bhikshus will come and enter the path. And in my land, all sentient beings are golden, all their necessities are provided, just like in the sixth heaven of the desire realm. Food and drink are abundant and appear at a thought. So as soon as they want to have food and drink, they just need to think, and then food and drink will appear. there will be no Mara, no rebirth in the lower realms, and no one called woman. There are 7 treasure forests, netting of fine cloaks, and valuable jade, and 7 treasure lotus flowers, all covered with jewel canopies. It is similar to Manjushri's Pure Land, covered in rich adornments without any difference. Okay, so she's describing a Pure Land in which that all, in her Buddha land, all the sexual beings are going to be golden in color. Okay, and that is going to be a very, very beautiful setting, like the Western Pure Land. And if what I have said is true and not false, may everyone in attendance take on a golden hue, and may my female body change and become male, appearing to be a 30-year-old bhikshu, well versed in the Dharma. And after saying this, everyone in attendance turned golden. And Sumati Bodhisattva changed from female to male, and appeared as a 30-year-old bhikshu, well versed in the Dharma. Okay, so she displayed a miracle. At that time, the heavenly beings who dwelt in Mount Sumeru descended to offer praise one at a time. Excellent, excellent. When the great Sumati Bodhisattva attains Bodhi, there will be a glorious, pristine Buddha land. Such is her virtue. At the time, the Buddha said to Manjushri, in the future, this Sumati Bodhisattva will attain perfect enlightenment and will be called the excellent, virtuous treasure Tathagata. Okay, so the Buddha is giving a prophecy that Sumati is going to be a Buddha in the future with the name excellent, virtuous treasure. And as the Buddha spoke this sutra, 30 kotis of sentient beings came to reside under supreme perfect enlightenment, abiding in non-transgression. And 80 kotis of sentient beings left defilement far behind and obtained pure Dharma eyes. 8,000 sentient beings gained liberating wisdom. And there were 5,000 bhikshus who were about to turn away from the Bodhisattva path. But because they witnessed Sumati Bodhisattva's aspiration and wholesome roots and saw a majestic virtue and excellent character, they removed their upper garments and offered them to the Tathagata. Having presented their offering, they make a great vow. And with these wholesome roots, we will absolutely achieve supreme perfect enlightenment. Okay, so I think to have Sumati in the form of an 8-year-old is very inspiring. Because when some of the disciples, when they saw a child having such a great aspiration, then they might reflect on themselves. And then they might decide that, okay, if this young girl can do it, then I should be able to do that too. Okay? Right. So, after the Buddha delivered this sutra, Sumati Bodhisattva, Manjushri Bodhisattva, and all the heavenly beings, humans, asuras, Gandharvas, and other beings in attendance were all overjoyed at hearing the Buddha's teachings. They faithfully received this teaching and practice. Okay? So that's the text of the sutra. And you can get it from this book here. It is available in the bookstore. Okay, so in the 40 different practices, so maybe you might be thinking also there's so many practices, which one should I practice? So I sort of grouped them into 5 groups, 5 main groups. I sort of group the similar ones in the same ones. So you can, like when you give, you can do like all kinds of giving at the same time, all kinds of making offerings at the same time. So if you practice giving and you practice making offering, you are like sort of doing 9 practices at the same time. That's like cheating, but no, that's a skillful means. Okay, so the practices like giving timely gifts, giving without contempt or arrogance, the practice of giving, and then making offerings at the flowers, fruits, offering lamp, and satisfying the needs of others. Okay? So that's under giving and making offerings. And that helps us to overcome our greed and attachment. Okay? And then in the next category, we have loving kindness and rejoicing. So not giving rise to anger, developing loving kindness, and also to rejoice in the accomplishments of others. Okay? And so with loving kindness and rejoicing, that helps you to overcome our anger and our jealousy. Alright? And then the third one, to preserve the Dharma, to persuade beings to abide in the right view, to protect and ensure the continuation of the true Dharma. So that I put it under preserving the Dharma, and that helps to overcome our ignorance. Okay. And then the next one is on refraining from wrongdoings. Okay, so to abandon divisive language, not to impede others from speaking the Dharma, not to slight or slander others, etc. So not to keep yourself from the wrongdoings. And that helps us to overcome arrogance. In the sense that, when we become arrogant from our practices, then we might have we might have the tendency maybe to criticize others, okay, or to look down on others, and we might, unconsciously commit some of the wrongdoings. Okay, next one is on developing true conviction. So to take deep joy in the true Dharma, to contemplate on the Buddha, okay, to have a deep faith in the wholesome teachings, and to give rise to the mind of all wisdom, to understand that Dharma nature is equal. And so that is on how we develop true conviction to the Dharma, to the teachings. And when we're able to develop true conviction, then we can overcome doubt. Okay? So greed, anger, ignorance, arrogance, and doubt. These are the 5 hindrances that stop us from getting enlightened. Okay, so if we practice the 40 different methods accordingly, then we should be able to overcome these 5 hindrances. And if we can overcome these 5 hindrances, then in the year of the pig, you are bound to have happiness. Right? Okay, and these are some further readings. If you want to get some more material and information on this particular sutra, the Great Treasures Collection Sutra, there is a translation by Gama Cham, and he has translated some of the chapters, not all the sutras, but a few of the sutras. And so you can have a look at this book. And another one is, you can look at this website, Peace Lazuli Text. They have also translated the sutra. And this is a Tibetan website. They actually translate from Tibetan to English. So this particular sutra is also in the Tibetan canon. Okay, you can find it also in the Tibetan canon. And some of the sutras in this Great Treasures Collection Sutra have already been translated from Tibetan to English. So you can also do it as a comparative study. Because in these 2 references, they translate from Chinese to English. But this one translates from Tibetan to English. So you can compare the different versions and to see, if there is any inconsistency in the teachings. And maybe some of the translations, when you have different translations, they can help you to understand better. Because the choice of words can influence your comprehension and understanding of the text. Okay. And this is the latest publication of the Chinese version. So if you read Chinese, you can get this. This is the original Chinese text. Okay. Yeah, and these two are available on the internet. References. These are Chinese references. And then this one, I'd like to do a little promotion for Buddha Museum. This is just a very short video. This is a program that we have at the Buddha Museum, and it is a weekend retreat on the first weekend of every month, from April to December. And then this year, in August, we are going to have an all-English program. So that's catered for English speakers. Okay, so if you are interested, I'd like to invite you to come to Buddha Museum in August on the first weekend, and you can experience this weekend retreat. You get to stay under the Buddha, the big Buddha. You get to have your own room. Okay, very comfortable. This is outdoor meditation. So, and most of the courses are designed to help you to get back to yourself. Okay, so this is tea meditation. This is sutra calligraphy. Okay, so this program has run for about 2 years, and we have been getting very positive feedbacks from this program. And this is a general outline of the program. We have walking, sitting, contemplative meditation. We have the tea ceremony. We also have courses on how you can appreciate Buddhist art in a museum. And you will have vegetarian meals, of course. And we have sutra calligraphy. And you have some courses and guidelines on how you live in a monastery. Okay? So if you want to have a break from work, then I'd like to invite you to come to the Buddha Museum for a weekend retreat. So in August, for this year, we plan to have an English program in August. And in the other month, from April to December, it will be in Chinese. Okay, so this is the QR code. Please scan the QR code. And then it will lead you to our Google form. And if you'd like to stay back and explore the monastery and the museum, I would also like to invite you. After the retreat, you can stay back. You can also help us and volunteer for us at the Buddha Museum. We need outstanding volunteers like you. Okay. Right. Okay, so I come to the end of my talk. So I hope that with these 40 methods that the Buddha has proposed, I hope that in the year of the pig, you will have a very well-rounded and auspicious year. Thank you very much.
Okay, I believe everyone will aspire to be Bodhisattva from today onwards. Okay, shall we all rise and join our palms together and bow to Venerable. Thank you, Shall we give another round